So with that in mind, I have three speakers for you today, and then we have the Open Banking API panel to close things off. First up with me today is Anand Tamboli. He's a transformation expert, futurist, and author, and he'll be joining us today to talk about the transformative innovation and new ways of doing things. So would you give a big warm welcome to Anand? Thank you very much.
Good morning. Wonderful to see you all. Usually, what they say is start your speech with a question. So I'm going to start that speech with a question. But let me tell you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about what the title says. But in particular, I want to tell you how we build this practical, innovative, or practical innovation ecosystem when I used to work with LG Electronics. It's white goods consumer electronics giant globally. And the ecosystem that we built worked perfectly, pretty much perfectly. So I want to talk about that. What are the three key critical components in that? But before that, as I said, the question. Now, this question, every time I ask this question in the conferences as a public speaker, I get wrong answers. You seem to be a smart audience, so I hope let's break that sequence. Let's see you get the right answer this time. And the question is like this. It's sort of a puzzle. Think of a glass, right? And this glass is empty. Not empty here, but it's empty. And we put one hypothetical strain of bacteria in this glass, just one, at 11 o'clock. And then we start observing the growth of these bacteria. Bacteria grow by doubling. So 1 becomes 2, they split. 2 becomes 4, become 8, 16, 32, 64 onwards. Logarithmic, exponential growth. And just to make our life simpler, let's say if we are observing their growth every minute, and we say that they're doubling. By 12 o'clock, this glass is 100% full, right? So the condition, we put one bacteria at 11 o'clock. Every minute they're doubling. 12 o'clock, the glass is full. Question, what time the glass is half full? Any takers? Sorry?
A minute before 12.
A minute before 12, yes, sir? Same thing? Anyone else? Different answer? How many of you think a minute before 12?
No, the growth would have stopped when it became full, so a minute before when it reached 100%.
Okay. Yes, sir? Same? No idea? All right. Good. We've got the right answer very first time, because a lot of times people tell me 11:30, 11:45, some just spitball saying any random numbers. But we get the idea why it is 11:59 and not something else, because we're doubling, right? Now, subsequent question to that, if you and I were sitting in this glass, let's say we were one of those bacteria in the glass, and we see this growth, this hole filling up like this. And as you would imagine, 11:59, it was 50%. 11:58, it would be half of that, 12.5%. 11:57, about 6. 11:56, 3, and so on and so forth. So just 5 minutes before, we are sitting at about 3% of the population. Now, second question, when do you think we would be panicking? When do you think we would realize we've got to change something? When do you think we should realize, when do you think we should take action to do something about this problem? At 12 o'clock? And even more important question here is, what action would that be? Let's say you decide to take action, you have to convince a lot of people around you, right, to change, to do something about the industry, the bacteria industry that's going on. You convince that. And so what do? And that is where I think the profound question of how do you innovate comes into picture. Because the common answer for this question is, well, we have a space problem. It's filling up. Let's find more space. Sounds logical, right? So we'll get to that. But let me tell you why I'm talking about practical ecosystem, because typically every time I talk about innovation, the idea people have is hackathons or innovation forms, some sort of smart idea submission forms on your intranet, light bulb posters, and things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that you can practically do pretty much as you go back to work today, tomorrow, or day after. You could start doing things. Because end of the day, we want to do things, not just talk about them. So let's go about that. This is something which I recently came across, the first law of bad management. If something doesn't work, do more. Servers are getting overloaded, add more servers, right? Customers are complaining, more customers are complaining, add more people to the team so that they can answer. Right? Your partner is complaining, get one more partner. Well, just don't do that. Don't add more servers. That's what I meant. But that's what, even with this problem, we might be doing. If I ask you what do we do with the problem of bacteria, with the problem of space, what would happen? And people will say, yeah, let's find more glasses. So let's recap. Let's see if we find more glasses. A team, a Scrum team or Agile team or a project team just formed, and their job is to find another glass because this is filling up. They go on search, and they find not just one, not just two, 3 glasses. Wonderful, isn't it? 3 glasses. You wanted to find one more glass, you found 3. Do you think the problem is solved? Let's see. 11:59, 50% full. 12 o'clock, double, 100% full. So we got 1 glass full, 3 more. 12:01, they double, so 100% doubles, 200%. That's 2 glasses full. We have got 2 more to go. What happens at 12:02? All glasses full. You are nowhere to go. And this is the problem with a problem-solving approach. This is the problem with the typical innovation thinking, and which is why I often keep saying that typical innovation is all about solving problems. Nothing wrong about it. We always have to solve problems. But when we're talking about innovation, strategic innovation or small innovation, no matter what you call it, you have to think beyond solving that problem, right? Because when solving somebody's problem is our business, I want to grow my business, right? So your problems can't go away. If I'm a doctor and you being a patient is my business, how long I want you to be my patient, right? So that's where I think we get into this rut. And we don't do it with negative intention. It's just the way things work. It's just the way we think and look at the problems. And which is why I'm talking about transformative innovation. And transformative innovation is something, it talks about eliminating the problem. It doesn't talk about just solving. Solving is temporary. Solving is tactical. How do you eliminate the problem from the root? How do you get rid of that problem forever so that you never have to have any kind of solution to fix it? That's what the transformative innovation is. So how do you go about it? How do you build the culture? And rather than talking about a culture, how do you build that ecosystem that gives us transformative innovation ideas and approach and solutions? And so this is where the first thing that we did in LG Electronics was developing the right mindset, right mental models, right thinking patterns. So it's before even we do any practical solutioning, how we think. We had lots of training, coaching programs, training sessions, or workshops, and even other exercises, not these exercises, but you understand, exercises where people were taught to think in a different way. And part of that was also not just thinking sitting alone, but also going out to the customers, doing Gemba studies. If you know, the word Gemba comes from Japanese term. Gemba means a location of happening, where things happen. As in, if I'm developing a product, the place where the product is actually used. If I'm developing a coffee machine, I would go to cafeteria and see how that coffee machine is being used. If I'm developing a system that is being used, that is mainly to be intended to be used in server rooms, I will sit there in the server room and silently watch how my customers, how my users actually interact with the system, how they use it. And just that silent watching, silent observation, without any judgment, without any comment, changed the way people think. Because now they know more than what they would have known just sitting behind the desk or just being in the workshop room talking about things. Now they know, they have seen things. And these are the things we at LG Electronics inculcated in every single person. In fact, it was one of the requirements that every month people had to present their findings from Gemba studies. So somebody has to go in the field. So I would have to go in the field every 3 months or 4 months. And so that kept me on my toes doing those things. So that's developing first principle based thinking. And the reason why you see rocket there is because even one of most favorite people, Elon Musk, talks about that. Go and watch an interview he has given talking about rockets, how he built reusable rockets and what thinking went behind it. You will see why he was successful in doing that. Then the second thing, obviously, is encouraging experiments, because you thought with the first principles, you got better ideas, you got ideas that could actually eliminate the problem. Now what? What do we do with those ideas? So we have to try them out. We can't just go and implement, right? How do you try them out? Where do you try them out? And we know trying things or even doing something as little as one day, it's a resource intensive. Somebody has to be busy doing something, which probably may not yield anything, which may totally fail. You will have to spend money. And so what we did at LG Electronics is we had about 3 to 5% of the budget allocated for these kind of experiments. And we didn't say they are experiments. We said this specific term we used was fast re-engineering projects. There was smart projects, a couple of other names, just-in-time projects, etc. Forget about the name, but the idea was people were encouraged to take their idea and test it out. They were relieved from their main duties for a week's time. If it is a fast re-engineering project, they would be relieved for 15 days. So it was budgeted. It was never a problem of not having resources. There's a budget, we want to do it. And they were encouraged to experiment. No results expected. In fact, management said that, look, this 5% is pretty much gone. We will never see return on that 5% of investment. And yet they saw, because the outcome of these experimentation projects, at least 5%, 10% of those projects were evolving into new products or new features or new changes, significant changes to the products, which then resulted in major cost savings. Because at that point in time when I used to work in LG, one single plant, one single factory would produce about 9 million TVs in a year. In fact, one of my projects was GoldenEye, and I proposed about $1 per unit saving. Nothing for a $100 TV, dollar unit saving. But imagine multiplied by 9 million TVs produced, that's the biggest impact, right? And it's not just me, there were a number of such projects. So you just need one idea to click, and it just pays off for the rest of your 5% of the investment. But that happens only when we encourage experimentation. We have to have that budget allocated, and people encouraged, relieved to do that stuff without any hindrances. And of course, this is something which I wouldn't talk much about, because once you try idea, once you prove that it works, all you got to do is maintain the focus and go all in, execute it impeccably, right? This is not something particularly true about innovation. It's true about everything. But the thing is, a lot of times, all the enthusiasm goes in finding that idea. Oh, this is a cool thing. Let's get started. But by the time it ends, by the time you get into this administration, documentation, the rut work, it loses all that glamour. And so a lot of projects, more than 50% of the projects, start to veer off in their fag end in their last few months, just because now it's old news. It was a good idea. It's still a good idea, but now you've lost the interest. You're looking forward to something new. But you've got to finish this. And this is something, I suppose, goes in the governance part, where you can maintain that governance, that until we finish, until we see the end, we are not losing this. So this is part of the governance, but other two parts I think is very, very strategically important. This is something I want to talk about while I go. This picture is painted with DALL-E. So some of us might have been experimenting with it. Now what happened, a reason I'm bringing this up is how technology kind of impacts our thinking, and how technology plays a role in innovation or anything that we do today. I keyed in a long sentence, Anand Tamboli speaking on stage in front of a large audience. This is what I get. If you put my name in Google, you will find enough number of pictures. And yet DALL-E chose that obscure person. I don't know, why even the system will think that I'm a male and not female. And the most interesting thing is, it seems like I'm talking this way and you're looking this way, right? Everybody is looking one way. The point being, it's still an experimental stage, of course, but the technology is not everything. And I'm saying this in front of hundreds of technologists. And I say it with hand on my heart, I have been technologist for past 20, 22 years. And I would say this again, technology is not everything. Technology is a tool for us. We sometimes just get in love with it so much that we forget there is other important thing, and that is human being. Your customers, your users, everyone working around us is human being. When we look at them as a central point and use technology judiciously, consciously, appropriately, things fall in place. At the end of the day, it's the intent that matters. Not just your intent, but what customer is trying to do, what your user is trying to achieve. They're not trying to use your system. They're trying to do something else. They just want to use your system to get there. Transformative innovation, when you go with the first principle, it will enable you to look through those first set of problems, go beyond first set, second set, third set, look at the root cause, why somebody is trying to do something, and then your solution will be much better, much useful, more impeccable, more impactful, more transformative, so that you don't have to ever bother about your competition, because you are solving the root cause while they are responding to the immediate superficial problem. And that's where it ends. That's where I would want to say that innovation is an outcome. It's not a process. It's not something you do. Innovation is outcome. When you do first principles thinking, when you experiment, when you execute seamlessly and impeccably, this happens. This is just an outcome. Think about it. Let me know if you have any questions. By the way, I've got 2 books, my own books, for 2 best questions, or maybe 2 first questions. You grab the book, right? One is on AI, other is on IoT platform. Up to you. Let's go for questions. Yes, sir.
What
The first thing that usually ruins the innovation, and as latest as I'll say 2 days ago, I've seen that thing, is putting too much governance in the beginning of the process or in the beginning of the idea stage. Like if people are thinking, people are giving ideas, let them experiment, let them come with some concrete data, some practical examples like this happened, this is what we think. But the moment we start asking, okay, fill in what's the potential benefit, like what? I'm rolling the dice and putting numbers. I have no clue what the potential benefit is, right? And then from there, everything just goes haywire. You want a governance, you put it in the end. Like, are we finishing the project, right? That the maintaining part, that's where I think governance is required, not at the beginning.
Time for one last question.
Yep.
We're going away.
So when you're, you need to define the problem up front, or do you have that?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Do you have the problem defined up front, or do you define the problem within the experimentation?
You would find the problem upfront when you're observing. So rather than problem, I would say when you're observing customers, when you're even making, say, talking to customers, having surveys and those sort of things, first they will tell you what they're struggling with. If you ask more deeper questions like why you are struggling here, what are you actually trying to achieve? And so a lot of times we think that customers can't tell you solutions. They can't tell you solution, but they can tell you what they're struggling with. And as we go deeper, ask more questions, they will tell you, this is what I want to achieve, this is where I want to go. I don't know how. I'm just trying my way, and this is where I'm struggling. So that's not the solution. I want to go here. Don't solve that problem. Help me get here. That's your problem to solve, or that's where your idea starts. Like, how do I help my customer get there? You come up with 5 different ways to get there. That's your experimentation part.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Anand Tamboli. That was a wonderful presentation. That is, by the way, my glass of water for this presentation that I drank at 11 o'clock, and I'm just trying to work out if it's still safe at 11:25 to take another sip. So thank you once again, Anand Tamboli.
Thank you.